art are different.
How do you think so?
Because art is about, like I've said before, art is about the experience. It's about the aesthetics of the direct experience. It takes no effort to think about what's going on. You get it. The
What
big spaceship
art are
over
you
the
talking
crowd,
about?
you know?
What art are you talking about?
I'm
What
talking about the conception of what most people view as a pure art. Now, today, most art has science mixed in with it. So it's very difficult to talk about what is art because it has so much science in it.
But today, to artists, there is no art.
Maybe to you, I have a very
To a lot of
clear
art.
as a bell. I have a clear as a bell idea of what art is and what art isn't.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Well,
And this is the first
I
time in
can't
my
help
life.
that.
And this is the first time in my life that I've ever had that. Because I've always thought, oh, I can't define, I can't figure it out. You know?
Well, I've been in art all my life, and you know what I've realized about it is it too is an illusion, and also a preoccupation, and a reality as well in the illusion, and that's not a bad thing. You know what I mean? It's just that there's multiple definitions of it from many macro points of view. And
What is the reason, I mean, you go to motive, what is the reason to go forward?
For the joy of life. You know what I mean? What are we doing if we're
So
not
you're
here
saying
having
ignore
one-
the dichotomy, just have fun.
Well, more than that. I mean, have intelligent fun.
Oh, Lord, do that.
But I mean, like I say, art doesn't exist if it's not enjoyable.
I don't know about that.
No, there's lots of anti-art. I mean, Dada
Okay,
was
that's old stuff. What I'm talking about is
punk rock.
Punk rock's not that old.
But Donna's
Okay.
fun though.
Then let me get a
Yeah.
little bit
But
strong
punk rock
about art
isn't.
for a second.
Right.
It's not fun, but it's a valid art form.
Yeah. Well, probably lampshades, a tattooed skin or a valid art form too. Go ahead, Sylvia.
We've all talked about this from, existential ideas that come out of World War II and philosophies that come out of,
We've talked about what?
film noir and, violence and brutality and individuality and all that kind of stuff. And the future of art, if we're going to be of any service to art, okay, we have to somehow, at least humbly or modestly, participate in its evolution in the 21st century from now on, okay?
Agree.
We can't sit around and do what, existentialists did, or postmodernists did.
What did existentialists do?
They painted a deep sense of self-expressionism and sometimes melancholy, senses of what the experience of the world was from oneself and points of view. It spawned a lot of...
More of a
Noir.
psychological.
Kind of a noir.
Well, it spawned, in music, what did it do? It did the, academic serialism and, Xenakis and, a million things, Stockhausen, you name it. It spawned conceptual art, many things. But here, as we sit in our lifetimes to be of any service to the field, okay, we have to look that way, not that way. And in looking that way, in looking that way, what do we see as the human condition? Is its most highest caliber? It has to, I hate to bring up Plato, but it has to do with happiness. Happiness is good.
That's Epicurus.
That's Epicurus? They always told me that was Plato. No, that's Plato.
No, I don't think
Yes, he would talk about happiness.
Well, he might have, but Epicurus is the one, eat, drink, and be merry.
Epicurean.
Well, that's
Delights.
Bastardize it, but it's basically,
but here's what I'm saying.
I think
Is
the whole
that
Greek business is like,
if we're to look at this comprehensive artistically, all right, what we do is we don't separate the past from the future anymore. We stop saying things are new or old or whatever. Is that what we do is stir fry the whole enchilada. We take Gustav Mahler and Stockhausen and Jimi Hendrix
And why would we do that?
because that's us, that's what we know. That's what we're capable of taking up all of that stuff. artistically and say,
And
it's like, hey,
Oh,
Yeah, let's
hello, is we have the capacity, you know, within us to say, okay, just because it's Albinoni doesn't mean it's, you know, Albinoni, or
Well,
just
okay.
because it's in
Well,
Jimi Hendrix.
how about this
doesn't-
idea?
Right.
How about the Barsoomians disappear because of the superior science and what did you call it? The superior what?
I said the stronger reality.
Stronger reality of the
Uh-huh.
Earthlings.
Hmm.
But once we finally get to Mars and start colonizing it, who's to say that it doesn't become Barsoom
Okay,
after
but
all?
here's
Because
that-
of Ben Well.
Now you guys
That's a
can
little bit
understand.
like Bradbury's The Martian Chronicles, you know,
Okay, yeah.
while the terrestrials become Martian. Of course, that presupposes that Mars is habitable on the surface. It isn't. In fact, the most recent data suggests that it hasn't been habitable for 600 million years.
That's a long time.
But see, here's the logic of why I was sliding in, not Hollywood style, but a little bit of sexuality here. Is that if this play appeared and disappeared, okay, but there was a subtle, very subtle sexual connection at some point between the humans and the Martians, it would leave the taste over.
Sounds like Star Trek.
Well, actually, but Edgar Rice Burroughs.
Captain Kirk.
But Edgar Rice Burroughs, he marries a Martian princess
Yeah,
and has
right.
grandchildren.
Mhm.
And by the final book of the series,
No, but we just leave it up to the imagination.
I mean, Carthoris
Yeah.
is his son.
Right, yeah.
What
And,
I'm saying is if it was left to the suggestion and not to the reality.
well, you could have the commander bonking one of the crew members, you know, off camera, slightly off camera.
Off camera.
You know, sort of like those old sketches from Benny Hill.
Right, that would be fun, yeah.
But it's off the main theme.
Hey, there's an idea that we haven't talked about.
Well,
Injecting some real humor into this thing.
yeah.
Well, no, I think that
I
has
think-
to be done.
I think that would
Yeah.
really do a lot.
That's tantamount to
If
any
we
good
really
thing,
made it funny,
you know.
that would be really something. Yeah.
Well, that's why you could get a lot of humor out of the Martians' interactions of them preparing their, you know, the threats and stuff like that. It could be Stooges time.
But they're not stooges.
No, I know, but
They're-
it could.
They're in their own way a highly successful technological civilization.
Well, then let's make the human Stooges. No, they did that already with that South African
With the
film.
stooges. I mean,
Yeah,
Area 9 or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
District 9.
District 9.
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think a little humor is a good thing, but I think, you know, we shouldn't forget the theme, and that is that both science and art are important. But there is a conflict between them, and that some of the literary tropes and the kind of imagination we've had in the past don't work because of things we know in science. But we haven't necessarily lost anything by that.
And I think that dichotomy is showing up with John and I.
Absolutely. Although you're an
Well, see-
engineer, aren't you?
I am, but my formal education is in art.
Or, yeah. Yeah. And look, and I'm a scientist, not necessarily a very good one, but I think like one. Yeah,
Yes, you
yeah.
do.
Yeah, we've had
Well,
we've
here's
had
the
a lot
thing
of
is, what I would like to put on the
something as
table
simple
is that
art show. Yeah.
we don't deal in conceptual cliches. That we deal in conceptual advancements, okay? In terms of where we're coming from and where we are, okay? Well, in other words, if this sort of experience, whatever, it helps to increase what do you call it, the roots of our belief systems, you know, and the flowers of our ideas and stuff like that, then it's worthwhile, you know.
Even if it tickles them in a you know, like a catalytic way that might help you look at something different, in a different way.
Well, I mean, for us too, I mean, why engage ourselves in a project if we're not going to, you know, go forward?
We are. I mean, I can't see how we could not go
Yeah, I
forward.
agree.
Okay, well, so then getting it down to getting stuff done, okay?
Well, the first thing we need to get done is have an idea of what we're doing so we can put an application.
Right, we have to focus on the application
Focus on
first.
the application and
Then we can
come up with an
Would
idea.
it be too much for that organization to start thinking about the evolution of the dichotomy of art and science in morphing into a whole nother dimension?
The dichotomy morphing into another dimension. As in which dimension?
In which language are we speaking? Yeah, I don't know what you mean by that. I mean,
Well,
I know
anyways-
what a dimension is. I know what a dimension is.
Okay,
in
well,
popular culture.
here's what's, to
And
me, that's
I
been
did-
brought up, here's what's been brought up on this table, okay?
Okay.
Is that if we're to think creatively as opposed to retrospectively, okay, about our ideas of art and science and stuff like that, we wouldn't be saying that particularly material reality is our only existential reality, okay? At the same time,
It is
we
for
would-
John, though.
Yes, yes, but I'm trying to get somewhere. Okay, is that, and artistically, we wouldn't be, see, I have a lot of background in aesthetics, unfortunately, okay? And,
That's fine. That's fine. That's
Yeah,
fine. That's
so
fine.
do I.
okay,
Yeah,
and
okay.
so, to me, the stratification of the, how do you call it, the organization of aesthetics theory and stuff like that, okay, is like color theory, okay?
In what way?
Well, and then like microtonality we were talking about too, is that what Joe's work is kind of gone in beyond that, but the early works in microtonality where there was sort of an authoritarian approach to what works and what doesn't work without the actual physical application of timbre. And for example, in color theory and painting, there's a lot of color theory, just like microtonality. But you take this painting and you put it under the table, dude, it's a different paint, you know, and color theory, it's still the same painting, but it, you know, the
Depends
color
upon
theory.
your light.
And 1,000 things and
No,
associations.
yeah, but it goes even
and
beyond that.
subjectivities and you know, projections and blah, 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 you know. all
And
that.
in some cultures there are just 3 colors. They don't have the 7 of the spectrum that we have. They just have 3.
Three. Well,
You know?
so here's
Just like for some people, you know, they count up to 20 or something, and then beyond that it's just right, whatever.
So
Some
the-
cultures have a counting system that goes a certain.
Yeah,
1, 2, and many.
But some people actually count binary. So 5 is 4 plus 1. And then
That's
they,
cool.
they can get all the pairs they want to, but they have to do it basically in
Is that binary or is that base 4?
well, you know, base 4, base 2.
Have you seen
But I mean,
those?
it's based, it's that kind of additive system, but it works for them.
Have you
But there's no
seen
evidence they perceive the world any differently. What? Have I seen what?
those chicken scratches of Galileo? Is counting numbers where he's going 1, 2, 3. It's like counting on his fingers.
Oh,
Down it. It's
no.
I've got that. I should bring that in the gallery. But, well, anyway, let me just finish thought and shut up. Is that you know, if we approach this thing from the standpoint of
Wine, John? John,
Yeah.
what is the end goal of DNA in terms of you know, science and art? What's the conclusion?
I think what
No.
There
the
doesn't have to be a
program
conclusion.
what
Why
the-
not?
doesn't have to be.
That's too bad you
In fact,
guys
if
missed
there
the
is a
meeting.
conclusion, we're probably doing the wrong thing.
Are
But
you sure?
No, I haven't.
Because everything is moved.
Yesterday.
yeah,
Everything moves, so your conclusion is gonna move too.
Well, that's what I mean. The purpose of purpose is the transcendence of purpose.
Well, anyway, finish. What-
I forgot what I was talking about.
No, well,
So we're talking about
here's
DNA.
here's
That's
what
okay. I don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah, what's
We
the purpose of
want to
DNA?
talk with the DNA creativity. We want to basically show how creativity is used both in the sciences and in the arts, and document the processes of how those how that works.
Well, here's the deal. Here's the problem. Okay. I didn't mean to interrupt. Sorry.
Well,
I'm
okay,
French.
okay, that's,
Yeah, Mediterranean. Go ahead. Finish.
it's hard to, I think it's very hard to show creativity in science, because science is not a performing art.
But
There
see,
have
here's the
been
thing.
a couple of plays based on that. There's one called Oxygen. There's a guy whose name escapes me for the moment. He's been up at Stanford. There's a guy who actually worked on the chemistry of the birth control pill, or syntax. Jurassic. He's read a number of plays. He calls it, and novels, it's called science in fiction. And I don't know, my feeling they're sort of faintly boring.
Assay?
But see,
Jurassic.
Oh.
Djerassi.
here's the thing. In art, we really have problems with words like creativity. just that as the same as in psychology, there's problems now with the word intelligence.
And consciousness.
What's the
consciousness.
problem with creativity?
It has been a buzzword for, what do you call it? How a certain kind of audience, a critical audience in the public looks at the process, which is in comparison to something that when you're really working in the process, you're not enamored of being creative. You're how do you say
Sort of like
this?
Eric Hart said, you never hear my experiments.
Well, the thing is that,
Uh,
you know, there's a lot of people who would
But
argue this idea that there is no
There's-
such thing as creativity.
there's something
in,
to
in
that,
The, in the
you know?
50s sense or the 60s idea where,
I'm totally lost at what you're trying to say.
I think there's
Are you-
a tendency to
okay.
confuse novelty with creativity.
or
I guess it's-
exceptionality
Yeah,
or
yeah,
individuality
yeah.
or
Well, not this individuality, but I mean just novelty. That, and I think a lot of experiments, like experiments in art and technology, have been kind of boring because the novelty is the only thing there is there.
You know, I think that's one thing we actually could accomplish, is somehow show that difference between novelty and creativity. Because novelty doesn't have the juju in it, the creativity does. Because, oh, I'm thinking of this thing, this is new, and I'm thinking of this thing, and this is new, and, you know,
Well, it's just that novelty can't be used as extensively as something that's creative I think they're both really pretty similar, except different levels of how it fits into the whole culture.
Yeah, but novelty per se doesn't equal creativity.
well, I think
It's just
that's
one
something
part
we
of
could
it.
show.
It may be
I'm
one
trying to
part-
make a
it's one-
point
it's
here,
one part
that
of
this
it.
is a
One
good
part of it.
point.
Yeah, yeah.
That in order to show what creativity is, let's try to show what creativity isn't.
wait a second though. Wait, let me give you an example of this. I took a friend, this British friend of mine, to the galleries in LA, to Bergman Station. And he wanted to buy a present for his wife's birthday. Okay? And we're looking at all this art, I mean huge amounts of art, and we both come out and we go, this stuff is real novel. It's like a cartoon. It's really fun to see for the moment, but you wouldn't want to live with it over and over and over and over again. You know, we didn't end up buying
unlike a
present.
great piece of art. Yeah.
Okay, a great piece of art has to do with a substantial shift in the evolution of perception of what we're doing. And that's what I'm trying to bring to the table here, is that what we do is in service to something more than what we've come from. That we can leave something here better than what we found it, okay? And that has to do with, perceptual platforms that we can offer in this stuff. So why not try to find a contribution to the DNA organization and their thirst for a working together of art and science that would be a resolution to that purpose. Why can't we do that?
Well, I think we should try to do that. We may fail to do it.
No, let's,
I
why
agree we
shouldn't
should
we
try.
try?
Try to do what? I'm just,
Try to do something that's good art, rather than just something that's interesting for the moment.
And good science.
We're certainly going to be what
We're
we
certainly
do
going to
that.
try. We're certainly going to
I
try to do
mean, we
that.
all have
But it's-
integrity in our work, and
Yeah.
I'm not
That's not the
I'm
problem.
not
That doesn't
worried.
bother
That's
me.
not that's not a problem.
I'm more concerned about what we're actually going to do.
No, no,
What
but
are we
I'm-
gonna do?
no,
That's
but-
the
That's the
problem.
thing.
Okay,
Because
no,
we have to
don't know what
get
we're
we have to
gonna
get busy and
Hold
do
it,
it.
here's,
right.
here's what I'm talking about, is that let's deal with this overarching concept first that we are being assigned, okay? Let's fulfill the assignment, okay? And the assignment is, why would anybody put an organization together of art and science and try to track the creative process? Let's go to motive,
Okay, I think one good reason. We live in a very technological society.
okay?
We also cannot really think in the old mythological literary modes anymore. because they've been rendered obsolete by discoveries in science.
Okay.
But
So,
yeah,
so what's,
you're bringing hairs up on my back, my
Okay.
neck.
so what
Go
is,
ahead. I was-
Okay,
how do we satisfy the motive?
I think there are some cases, for example, I can still read a Greek, tragedy and play and be moved by it. I still move by literature. I mean, I cry in movies, but I'm also, but that's because they have sort of basic human values in a sense, and they
Archetypes.
resonate somewhere in my psyche, which doesn't change because humans haven't changed probably in 10,000 years.
Right.
But,
Exactly.
but the specifics sometimes do. And we don't, for some reason, we don't write westerns anymore. We don't make western movies. Because the frontier is closed. It's not exciting.
There's some people
people
argue
do.
that Star Wars was a Western.
I agree. But it's a technological one. It's out in space. And I mean, people like me would argue that's obsolete now. Not really, because, it was obsolete because, but it's actually, it's the kind of thing that Edgar Rice Burroughs wrote. I mean, a bantha and a banth. I mean, they're huge, lumbering creatures that are, used as.
Well, wait a minute. Here's
Yeah.
an interesting point, though,
So-
about what you just said.
Yeah.
Shakespeare his plays still speak to us today.
Right.
His art is something that we still find relevant.
Yeah.
And most of the stuff that he set was set in the past beyond his time.
I know.
He lived around 1600, and he set stuff
I know.
way before that. So,
Yeah.
there's
But
a good
Shakespeare is
example.
also better than anybody else.
right, I agree.
For one thing. And secondly, but I don't know, I mean, I've taken courses on Shakespeare. You're always aware of the anachronisms. People tend to do Shakespeare in modern dress. It doesn't work for me because I like the distancing to see it in the past.
Mhm.
I
The
mean,
thing
that's
is,
part of the appeal to it. It's exotic.
We're getting away from the subject matter here, though,
Well, I don't know.
which is
We're kind of
this.
crashing
No,
out.
really,
I
we're
think
not
we're
really.
crashing
Not
out.
really.
with the
Because
crux of
opera
this all
composers
is.
do the same thing. They set things from the past all the time.
No, what I'm saying is, that let's go to motive, okay? Why does this organization want to do what it wants to do? What's it
What-
seeking?
Why do you make art?
No, I mean, what is it seeking in, I've only been to one meeting, and you've been to two.
I think it's trying to seek.
What does it want?
I think it wants, seeks, whatever, is a new way to look at creativity that hasn't been looked at before.
Okay, they come to the right table. Let's do it, okay? And what that means is
In
that,
art and science.
okay, which,
I just don't know how to do.
How to be creative in science?
Well,
I mean, you look
I
at-
don't know how to dramatize it. I mean, there's been lots of biographies of scientists that try to reconstruct what they were thinking at the time. Well, the double helix is a good example.
well, here's how to do it, I think, is what you do is you give the audience a new experience of that. A different kind of experience. And
But most
that
of it-
is, and let me put that in a metaphysical way, okay? It's nice to enjoy conundrums and stuff, and to face problems, but there are problems beyond problems that if you shift to, higher problems, okay, you solve a lot of problems behind what you're doing, okay?
yeah,
So the key
mathematicians do it
question
all
is,
the time.
he mentioned something very interesting, is the prison of technology, okay, of that emasculation of life experience was in that, okay?
I'm lost. Prison of technology, what?
I think
Well, he was talking
what I
about-
meant more is not the prison of technology, but more the seduction of technology, where the technology becomes the art. And with often, I think, rather trivial results, frankly.
Oh, you're talking about like kinetic art and things like that.
Well, kinetic art is kind of fun because of it can be, I mean, I kind of like kinetic art for some of it. But for example, like that show out there, the Intersect, a lot of that stuff I thought was trivial.
Oh, yeah, well, that was just,
Can't write anymore.
Okay,
there was a lot of people that just don't have much
I
background.
just arthritis.
And,
when I start writing.
And especially artists that are pulling
I believe you
from
gotta-
scientists. I don't want to sound
I'm trying to get
arrogant,
everything.
it's a lot of artists haven't really studied much science.
No, they haven't.
No,
Now I know a
scientists
couple
study
of
much art,
scientists who
yeah.
have. I mean, well, Bettina Heinz, and her art doesn't reflect science as I can see. I knew a musician it is. I was trying to think. I've done a number of scientists actually gone into art. Some of them tend to do mathematical structure.
There's a lot of illuminating mathematics. There's a whole movement.
Or there's also a lot of stuff that just very nice, sculpture that is based on mathematical ideas, but
Right.
perhaps not terribly rigidly, more complicated.
John even has his own thing.
Yeah.
He wrote a little program that does colored graphs of tuning stuff, but it's really
That's
interesting.
what I saw in the
Yeah.
show, right?
Yeah,
Exactly,
yeah. I mean, I've actually, if you look at my webpage,
They're beautiful.
I've got lots of
Beautiful.
geometrical things that are based on
Right.
Herb Wilson's drawings, which I think have a great deal of artistry in them.
Well, to me, the aesthetics in those pieces is the aesthetics of thinking,
Yeah.
of how the structure works together in the thinking.
Yeah.
The art part of it is like the direct experience,
Yeah.
but the colors
Oh, I
and the
agree.
lines.
I agree, and I think they're both important.
They are both important, but when you look at art, you have to look at the art in the whole context of art and art history.
Yes.
And when you look at most of the math art that I've seen, the art side of it, when looked at in perspective to art history, doesn't say much in the art world.
I agree.
It does say a lot in the math world
Yeah.
and in the aesthetics of thinking. The beauty in those pieces are, to me, what really excites me is the thinking part, not
Yeah.
when I look at the experience and base it against my past experiences studying art history.
Yeah.
So,
No, I agree, and I think that's been the case with this. I remember there was something called EAT, Experiments, Art and Technology. And a lot of the stuff, is interesting technologically. Well, like UCSD has a lot of stuff around the campus. It has talking trees. It used to have kind of TV sets sort of stuck in the ground that the pictures on. The talking trees sometimes pick up sounds in other parts of the campus. So what? After a while,
Yeah,
it's a
right.
stunt.
they're trying to
Yeah.
give you a new experience.
And that's what I think is the seduction of technology.
One
The
thing.
Well,
prison,
it's-
the prison of technology is not the prison of technology. I mean, in the sense that we are imprisoned by, there's some things we cannot do. Yeah,
I think it's
from that point of view, limited
No,
by technology.
I
But I think it's more,
of this,
I think he's
but if
referring
you
more
have some
to
crackers, if you're
the
interested.
fact that as we know more and more about the
Please,
pure
finish
universe,
that.
Kind
we
of
find it harder
hungry.
sometimes to
What I
create
meant
mythical
by
universes
what I meant by that though was
that are believable nowadays. I mean, I think, like the UFO business. I mean, that's the same thing as sky gods. We're just using a different metaphor for it.
Sky gods.
Yeah, I mean, the gods come down, the UFO guys come down, solve our problems for us. It's basically, it's the same, I think, psychology, but the metaphors are different. Because we live in a much more
what I
complicated world.
meant by pushing of technology was
Okay.
it's not that. What I meant is our artistic directions being what do you call it, corralled into technological
off.
mediums
Yeah.
and expressions.
Oh.
And new
This is my dinner
horizons
time.
for us are things that have to be. Why do you have to be why should you go somewhere to see something?
Well, I
There
would,
has to
I
be a
would agree
reason.
with that. I'd be
You know.
perfectly happy if this thing was just done onto DVD directly. Goes on the web.
See,
In fact,
the
we're
thing
thinking
is,
of
I
doing it-
wouldn't see
doing
that
it
as a
online.
new direction, though, in terms of artistic medium.
No,
There's-
no, but I mean,
there
it's-
has to be reasons why you actually have lifetime experiences, why you do that stuff, and
But these days, a lot of people don't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
most people
but
don't.
here's
Yeah.
what's
Most
going to
people
happen.
just go like this, and
Yeah,
that's
but-
their whole
But
experience.
listen, but here's something behind that the people aren't thinking about, which is that the reason they're doing that is because the people are doing something live that they want to see on
Right,
that. Okay? And that culmination of all those experiences, okay, is going to come to an entropy at one point where, hey, it's time we do something live and not just do.
Right.
Okay? So what is it begs the question is what do we do live? I mean, do we make babies? Do we make money?
Pretty much all that's
Do
left,
we-
isn't it?
There's some universals of human experience.
Okay. No, I mean, there's a bunch of
There's
junk
not
we
a whole
can
lot
do.
left besides that anymore.
And And that was true 10,000 years ago
Uh-huh.
for most people.
No, and so, you know, it's what I'm saying is, which he addressed to, is why would anybody want to come to this event? Okay, there has to be a reason.
Well,
Be stimulated.
Be stimulated and be entertained.
Stimulated is a little,
Broader,
entertainment is
broader.
like on this,
Yeah,
this is
I
back
agree.
to novelty again.
No, it has to be both, you know.
Okay, they stimulated, yeah. I mean, I'm attracted to things sometimes
We
completely certain.
want to point, I think, we want to point at the great mysteries and at this dichotomy that we're
Yeah.
talking about.
All right.
Well, here's
So,
another.
okay, well, let's decide, we need to make a decision. Are we gonna go with this play and I'll rewrite it?
Yes, that's what I wanted to get to.
And if we do, then we'll worry about staging it, but,
It-
or
it-
we ought to
it-
do something
because
totally
last-
different.
last
We haven't decided
meeting-
that.
And what's going to happen when we get the influx of the new people? They're going to
Well-
stand there
Well,
and do
here's
this.
the,
Okay.
here's.
You guys have already decided everything.
Well,
No.
well,
Well,
fine,
let me
fine.
finish.
I mean, I don't think it's gonna work if suddenly we put a proposal in, and suddenly 10 more people join it, they wanna do something else. If they join it, I think they
Well,
should,
no, they will have to join.
with the framework we already have
That's
set
right.
up.
Right.
And if some of them are set designers, or can make costumes, or they can act, or they can dance, fine. If not, we don't need them.
Well, here's the thing, I think, and I'll add this in, it's just an offer, it's not a, you know,
Yeah.
what it can
Yeah,
happen.
okay.
I'd feel better,
Yeah.
okay, if we had a collaborative rewrite on that in the sense of input of
Oh, I'm,
the staging, staging ideas, the physical stuff as well as the intellectual stuff
I'm
as well
perfectly
as the
willing to
emotional.
listen to.
No, I mean, and if we had some writing sessions where,
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
you know what, we had this other idea at the last meeting too, where
which
the
was,
space itself
what?
took on meaning. Remember that? That idea based on
Yeah,
Kaz's?
that's a totally different idea.
No, I love that idea, that's real, I think we can achieve that.
Okay,
And-
so that's not
No, I
to
think
be
that's,
combined with this play then?
no, I think that's a good idea here, where you were talking, I think that's brilliant, actually, to design the stage as a,
Not just a stage, the whole
A
space.
mathematical
The audience
yeah,
too,
I
the
think
whole
that's,
thing.
that's important, but that has to be
including the
communicated.
audience.
Right,
That
the
has
whole
to be
thing.
communicated to the audience clearly, though, it can't be just like esoteric.
No, yeah, well, that's the problem in art.
Love is on this end and hate is on that end, so go where you belong.
Yeah.
Babies here,
Well,
grandchildren there.
More like belief, skepticism, romance, logic.
Now, that could be this, because of this dichotomy we're talking about.
Well-
We could have that in the space, and then maybe we could just have our argument, and everybody can join in, pick a side, and
Well, I kind
kind
of,
of map that
I
out.
don't know how to
This
do
is
that.
gonna
I don't
be
know
fun.
how to do it interactively, but it's an interesting idea. I was thinking originally of just staging this thing and having a multi-level stage, different things.
See, I thought about that.
When people are talking about, why they want to go to Mars and the visions they have, then you have a tableau up here, wells slithering ores, or
the rip space would
See, oh, there's
And that-
another
and that could be-
space.
that could be
What's your
quite-
name?
that could be
It's
combined
called the
with-
Greek Theater.
All of that stuff,
Yeah.
sounds great.
but
I have no
now,
problem
but
with
not
that.
now.
The only problem
gotta-
I have is that bottom line of the thing
We
saying
gotta-
that it kills science fiction.
I don't think it kills science fiction completely. I think it kills this kind of science fiction, this kind of vision, this kind of metaphor.
why kill something
If it's
that's 100 years old?
Yeah, and substandard, if it's easy to kill.
Well,
Let's take science and go kill something big with it, if you want to kill something.
like religion.
Yes.
There you go,
There you-
now you're talking.
Now we're getting into the right thing.
Right,
Let's do that.
right.
Let's
Let's stick
and
on
I'll
the
be on
creationists.
I'll be on the religion side, and you can be on the science
Let's
side.
stick
and
on the
we'll,
creationists. Wow.
And how do you separate religion from spirituality?
well, there, you don't, except that one's more organized than the other.
It's all an artifact of neurotransmitters.
In religion,
Religion is organized and spirituality is not, yeah.